basis. It's almost like my extended family. I'm associated with you guys. It's almost, I think, 3 years now, and always a pleasure. I feel blessed that I have access to you guys, the young talent, people who are online right now. Thank you very much for coming. What I'll try to do, I'll try to give you a different kind of a perspective about entrepreneurship, right? And I will try to keep it as real as possible so that I can share my experiences with you, the real life experiences, and then you can understand that entrepreneurship is not just about the business owners, right? So I think we can, get started, right? So first thing first, when I talk about entrepreneurship and when I say entrepreneur, right? When I say this word entrepreneur, right? What really comes to your mind? Entrepreneur, right? Maybe you're imagining Jeff Bezos. Maybe you're imagining, Elon Musk. Some of you, if you are a Steve Jobs fan like me, maybe you will imagine Steve Jobs picture in your mind that he is the entrepreneur, right? Yes, the Steve Jobs. And then maybe if you're a fan of Amazon, you will think about Jeff Bezos, maybe, right? This guy, right? So they are the entrepreneurs, right? Okay. But my question is, when you hear about entrepreneurship and entrepreneur, do you actually think about you? What about you? Where are you here? No? You don't think about yourself as an entrepreneur? Or you do not really think that, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur? The thing is, the problem with the media and the society is that we have associated entrepreneurship with the business. So people who own this business, who do that, who have built this app and that app and Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and YouTube and WhatsApp, okay, they are the entrepreneurs, right? Okay. But the truth is, anybody can be an entrepreneur. You don't actually have to be a business owner to be an entrepreneur. You don't actually have to start something to be an entrepreneur or to think like an entrepreneur. Anybody can be an entrepreneur because entrepreneurship is not a business. It's not an app. It is not a software, or it is not about $1 million valuations. It is actually a mindset. It's a mindset that thinks different, that makes you an entrepreneur. So I'll give you a small example here. We also associate entrepreneurship, with people who solve problems and, they try to make the world a better place and, make you guys happy. So tomorrow, when you start a job, the guy who is serving you the tea in the morning when you reach office, he's also an entrepreneur because he is serving you the tea, making you feel happy, making you feel refreshed, and also making you feel that, okay, you know what, I'm going to go to the desk and I'm going to have this teacup in front of me with a piping hot tea to sip. So he's also an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is not actually about business, startup, being a businessman, for example, starting something or creating an app. It is a mindset, right? That mindset can be applied to many different things. So if you ask Steve Jobs or Bill Gates or other people who are very successful, right? They have certain things, certain way of thinking that makes them the entrepreneur. So people have written books about entrepreneurship and, you can do this and that, but I will share with you 3 and 4 very important aspects of entrepreneurship, the key elements that actually can make you feel like an entrepreneur, can make you think like an entrepreneur, and you can actually make a difference in the world. One thing I want to understand from you guys is that you see people around you who study with you, right? You see people around you who work, for example. Some of them are very successful, right? Some of them are not successful at all, right? Some of them are very sharp in the education, in the studies. Some of them are not sharp at all, right? And some of them are very sharp, but they don't put the effort. They don't care. They don't give a damn. They're casual, for example, right? Entrepreneurship is also about knowing your strength as a person. What's your strength as a person? What's my strength as a person? And also knowing your weakness and owning it, right? So let me share with you one very important aspect of being an entrepreneur, right? That is the mindset. Okay. So the mindset is very important. Wherever you'll go in the world, mindset is very important. The mindset. If you have the right mindset, the mindset will then change your behavior, right? And the behavior will bring results. cannot bring results to today's world without having the right mindset, right? And today I'm going to share with you the entrepreneurial mindset, how entrepreneurial mindset can actually change your life and how it has changed my life, right? So I'll start with you a personal story. Okay, first thing first. The first point that I want to make here is you have to be proactive. Be proactive. Okay. Now the example of being proactive is what? When I was hired in my first internship, I'm talking about 2003 and 4. Okay. So in my first internship, uh, it was as a programmer. I was a computer programmer, right? So my boss told me, okay, you know what? You know only Java, right? But the problem is, Ammar, here we are only working on ASP.NET, so it's a different language, right? So, and you know Java, so I'm sorry, you will not be able to perform here. It's okay, you can come every day for 2 months. It's okay, I'm giving you this internship, but I don't think that you will be able to perform. And I was like, oh, okay. So what I did, I went back home. I remember it was a weekend. I spent 2 days on my computer learning ASP.NET. And the next day when I went back to the office, right, I was not starting from zero. I was starting from somewhere. Point number 20, point number 30. So I was proactive, but I did not know that it was entrepreneurship that time. It was entrepreneurial mind. I did not know that time. I was too young to understand that. But that is proactiveness, right? Is you do something before, you think something before, you anticipate before something that might happen. Proactiveness can also then transform into a vision. You can become a visionary because you see things that people don't see. The people think that they are not there. Those things are not there. But you can imagine those things. It's also about being proactive. So starting from being proactive. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be proactive. That is the number one rule of being an entrepreneur. You have to be proactive, right? And then the rest will follow, right? So be proactive, number one. Number two, you have to take the ownership. Ownership, okay? When I talk about ownership, right, in our culture, in our countries, ownership means taking responsibility of the situation and taking the ownership. This is your thing, you have to do it. It is all about taking ownership of your work, maybe of your studies. I say take ownership of yourself. What do I mean by that? Take ownership of yourself, right? And by that, what I mean is you have to take ownership of your weakness. What are you weak at? Your weakness, right? What are you weak at? You are weak English. You are weak in time management. You are weak in focusing, for example. You are weak in a subject, whatever it is, right? You have to accept that you are weak in that. And when you accept something that, yes, this is something I do not know, or I'm weak at this, then what happens? You want to change that. But if you do not accept, and you say, no, you know what, you feel like you are complacent. You say, no, you know what, I'm okay with that. It's okay. But when you accept something that you are weak in something, you work on that as a human being. It's human nature. When you accept that I'm weak in this, the defensive mechanism comes into the picture, and then you say, you know what, I'm going to improve this. Acceptance of the weakness, taking ownership of yourself, accepting of the weakness, and then doing something about it is also entrepreneurial mindset. Coming back to my story, when I started my business, right? So I'm an entrepreneur since almost 15 years, right? When I started, I knew one thing for sure, that I'm very good in technology, but I'm very weak when it comes to financials. So business planning, marketing planning, cost analysis, sales forecasting, all those things I was very weak at, and they were like rocket science for me. I was really weak at those things. I was very weak at taxation, tax issues, how to deal with tax issues, how to deal with the state, the government as a business. You need some kind of communication for that, right? That weakness was there. So I was weak in all those things. And, make no mistake, when I started my career, as an entrepreneur, I was very weak in English also. But I started understanding one thing. My strength is technology. Now I have these weaknesses. Okay, I'm gonna solve them one by one, right? Also, at that time, I did not know that that was entrepreneurial thinking, but that is entrepreneurial thinking. You understand your weakness, you get the grip of the weakness, and then you say, you know what, I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna do something about it, right? So you have to accept your weaknesses. It's very important, and then do something about it, right? And that will come through what? That will come through taking the ownership of yourself. Be self-aware. What are you capable of? What you're not capable of? Where you can work, where you need to work on yourself. Because see, the thing is, if you do not understand this small thing, that taking ownership of yourself and then improving yourself is a daily job, it's a constant journey. If you do not do that, the problem is today we are living in a very fast-paced, changing world. Everything is changing. And thanks to COVID-19, it has changed everything. Now everything is digital, everything is very, very different than it was before. So if you're not self-aware and if you do not take the ownership of your weakness, what you don't know, and you don't do anything about it, right? Then what will happen? This ownership, if it's not there, then your weakness will become a warning for you. It will become like this, like a warning. And then it is not good for your mental health. Because it will make you feel inferior, it will make you feel like you do not belong to something, you do not belong to the place, and then it can create bigger problems. Another important aspect is that stop finding the escape routes. So for example, if you do not know English or you cannot speak English, right? And you stop hanging out with a group of friends who speak English. You don't hang out with such people. You only hang out with the people who speak your language. The truth is there's a big possibility that you will never be able to improve that aspect of your life. If you just, run away from that, run away from the weakness or walk away from that and finding easy ways out, it's not going to help you at all, right? So take the ownership of that weakness, take ownership of yourself, be self-aware, right? And then work very hard on it, right? It will help you all your life. It will improve many things for you. It will open new doors, open the doors to opportunity, right? Okay. Another important thing is, you must have heard about this, I don't know, in old, let's say, books and online videos. I always say one thing, right? And that is, you need to keep a mindset, right? A mindset that is very curious, right? So when you look at the mindset, right? So mindset is, let's say, a combination of attitude, behavior, actions, and things that you learn, right? So what happens as an entrepreneur, right? My mindset is, honestly speaking, when I come to work every single day, my mindset is that I'm learning every day. Very curious mindset. I want to learn things that I do not know, for example, things that are on my checklist that I have to get more knowledge of or know more about, for example, right? That kind of mindset. And that mindset actually starts from a small step, okay? You have to start being a little more curious, right? Start asking questions, search online. Today we have access to huge information, right? So if you have any question mark that you have to solve, you can always check on Google, right? And human brain is wired to learn. When you are born, when I was born, right, I learned to sit, learned to eat. Okay, let's talk about evolution. You learn to sit, right? First thing first. Then you learn to crawl. Then you learn to walk. Then you learn to walk a little faster. And then you learn to run, right? We are learning all our life. We're learning new things. We learn the sense of taste as a kid. And we also learn that the chocolate is the most delicious thing on earth, right? And then we also learn that there's something called ice cream that is really, really tasty. I should get it as a kid, right? And then candies and then toffees and so many things. So we are learning all these things, from the very beginning, right? Because our brain is actually wired to learn new things. So we can always improve our skills because that's how it is. It is wired to learn. So why do we stop learning at a certain point? And learning is, honestly, learning is just not about reading books, for example, or I'm not talking about academics here. I'm talking about 100% total soft skills. You learn from the people, learn from the environment, right? So we just cannot stop learning, because learning will then, upskill you. Because if you do not learn, what will happen in the work uh, arena or in life. If you stop learning, I'll tell you what will happen. You will end up working with people, right, who will treat you something like this. And you don't want that. Because when you don't learn, your ability to question, your ability to reason, your ability to ask different things is actually very limited. And your ability to gain knowledge of the subject matter is very limited, right? So when you stop learning, when you don't learn, right, what happens is that a person who knows more than you, right, which will be, which is possible, like especially at the workplace where you work with corporates, a lot of people are there. There are people who are actually trying to, let's say, put you down, right? What will happen is that if you do not have the knowledge, you don't have the answer to the question, you don't have the answer to the situation, what will happen? It will be very difficult to grow, right? So you have to keep on learning. So learning is something that we are wired for. We are born to learn, right? So we just cannot stop learning, right? And when you stop thinking about, for example, new things, and stop thinking about what's happening in the world, how the world is changing, what happens is everything looks like I can't. Oh, I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. What happens is it also increases a lot of negative energy inside you. So the motivation levels are down, right? Because you're already stopping your learning mechanism. So what happens is you feel so down that everything looks like, oh, I can't. But as an entrepreneur, when you change your mindset and start thinking like an entrepreneur, right? As an entrepreneur, we think like every I can't should be I can. So let's cut the T out of here, right? So it's I can. It cannot be I can't. Okay, I can, but you have to make it possible. So entrepreneurial mindset is also about solving problems for the people. So I'll give you a small example here. So if you look at Titanic, okay. So Titanic, we all know, what happens with Titanic, right? So a lot of people died, and literally, I think 700 people only survived, right? Rest of them died, unfortunately. But if I have to solve that problem as an entrepreneur, what can I do? So they only had 16 lifeboats, right? But as an entrepreneur, what I will do, I would try to use the tables, the chairs, tables, the tabletop can float in the water, for example. There were so many vehicles in the ship. They could have used the tires to save people's life, right? It is thinking differently. But it does not really mean that you think like an alien. You have to work within the framework. A lot of people see that, okay, hey, okay, thinking different means thinking like really, like a crazy person. No, thinking different means thinking within the same framework, but with a different idea. It doesn't have to be like think different, okay, like think like a crazy person. No, thinking in the same framework, but with a different idea. So you can come up with new ideas, right? Talking about ideas, I want to share one very important incident with you. The thing is, when you grow further in life, when you have your job, when you have your interviews, when you go for the interview, when you're pitching your startup to people, people are also trying to check your level of confidence, and they're also trying to check how passionate you are about what you're doing. They also want to know about your passion. Many years ago, almost 7 years ago, I was um, bidding for a tender that was for a very big project, right? It was a government project, right? And there were other very big companies also, bidding for the same, right? And my company was there as well. So I passed all the stages of the tender and I came to the last stage. So the project manager told me that, Amar, the thing is you have everything, you have all the solutions that we ask for, you have all the answers that we ask. Everything is fine, but there's a small problem. And I said, okay, what's the problem? He said, the problem is that you are a very small company. So I told him, I said, that's not a problem, that's the opportunity. He said, how come? How it is the opportunity? I said, because only small companies can become big. So if I'm a small company, this is the opportunity to get this project and become big. Because I believe in the solution that I'm providing, also believing right in the vision that this software or this solution, this system will work perfectly fine, and it can work against any big company or any big system. It's going to work perfectly fine. So I think it's also about believing in what you're doing, right? And believing is very, very important, because the problem is sometimes things will not work the way you want them to work. And the reason why we call a business plan, because it's a plan. It is not a business guarantee, it's a plan, right? Marketing plan, it's a plan. It does not mean that it's going to work exactly the way that you want, or it will not work the way it is mentioned on the paper. Things will change. That's why we call it a plan. Okay, but to make that plan successful, what we need as an entrepreneur, we have to think. First of all, we have to be proactive, as I told you. We have to take the ownership of our mistakes, of our issues, whatever it is. And then we have to keep on learning and be very curious. Okay. The fourth thing is you have to be resilient. You have to be resilient that it is working. It's going to work. I'm going to make it work. Maybe I have to change something. It's okay, but I'm going to make it work. Maybe it might just come very close to a failure, but I'm going to make it work. Talking about failure, a couple of weeks ago, SpaceX, Elon Musk's SpaceX, they have sent the first rocket, right? Their first commercial spacecraft to the space station, right? Now, here's the thing. When SpaceX was testing the rockets, right, they had many failures, and they have almost spent more than $1 billion in failures and hardware failures, many things, many different failures, and it is crazy. Okay, but someone asked Elon Musk that what you're doing is, it's not working. So, why don't you just stop this? He said, it is rocket science. It's not easy. So all these failures are actually contributing to our success. Because what you learn from the failures is what not to do from within the framework. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E doesn't work. Okay, I understand. What about others? Okay, plan 1, 2, 3 didn't work. No problem. Now let's try plan 4. Talking about plans, PayPal was created to transfer money from one Palm tablet to another. Have you heard about Palm mobiles? Palm PC and Palm Pilot? No, right? It is funny that today PayPal exists, but that company, creating the Palm mobile phones and Palm tablets is not existing. It's crazy, right? It is because how do you see it as innovation? BlackBerry started the smartphone generation, the smartphone era. They gave the concept of smartphone to people. Today, they hardly exist. But companies who followed them, right, they are raking revenues. Sometimes you have to, like I said, you have to constantly think to learn. You cannot be complacent, especially in technology, right? Fifth point is integrity. Entrepreneurs should have integrity, right? And if you want to have the entrepreneurial mindset, you need to have the integrity in you intact. So when I talk about integrity, I'll tell you one thing. I do not know any successful entrepreneur who is successful. People love him. The company is great, right? And has no integrity. I'll give you a small example here. Let's talk about Nirav Modi, for example. Built such a big business empire, right? But today, can you say that he has integrity? Vijay Mallya, can you say that he has integrity? But you agree that Bill Gates has integrity. You agree that Steve Jobs has integrity. You agree, right, that Amazon as a company is a very reputed company. So integrity is very important because doing wrong things, wrongdoings can take you this far, maybe this far. But with integrity, you will reach here. Integrity is very, very, very important, right? Talking about integrity, there's one thing that I want to share with you. It also comes with the risk. So some things do not really make sense on the paper. And especially I talk, when I talk with my friends, I tell them that entrepreneurship doesn't make sense. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I tell them, entrepreneurship doesn't make sense. So when they ask for example, I give them this example. Imagine um, rewind your life 15 years back, okay? And I tell you that I want to start a company where people will fill a form, they will create their profile, okay? They will tell me who their friends are, they will upload their pictures, that's it, okay? You'll tell me, what the hell? Is that a business or what? Today, that is called Facebook. Okay, so let me rewind. Let me rewind your life 8 years back. Okay, and I tell you, I'm making an app where people will take pictures and they will apply some colors on the pictures and upload. You'll tell me, get lost. It will not work. Today, that is called Instagram. Okay, let me rewind your life 6 years back, and I tell you, I'm going to make another app where people will take pictures. They will also make different faces. They can apply a cap on your head and do these things. You'll be like, come on, man, nobody will use that. Today, that is called Snapchat. So here's the thing. Entrepreneurship does not really make sense on paper because it is the magic of making things happen. So talking about making things happen. So here it is, making the things happen, right? Okay, so how do you make things happen? There is no straight answer to that, right? So how do I make things happen? I'll give you a small example. There was this guy, he worked all his life, okay? It's a small story, okay? He worked all his life, worked hard, saved a lot of money. And when he was retiring, he said, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy a Ferrari because I have enough money. So let's buy a Ferrari. So he bought a Ferrari. So Ferrari came to his place, beautiful. They delivered the red Ferrari. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. And the Ferrari was parked in the garage. Okay. So I asked him, let's go for a drive. He said, no, man, I'm not going to go for a drive. Why not? He said, I'll drive this car only when all the signals will be green. Okay. That Ferrari is still standing in the garage. You know why? Because all the signals will never be green. So what you need to do is just sometimes take your chance, right? Just take your chance, because if you do not take the Ferrari out on the road, you will never know if the signals are green or not. So it's the quality of taking that chance. It is a passion behind it that actually makes things happen, right? Another important thing that I want to share with you is that entrepreneurial mindset is always evolving, right? It's something that is growing all the time. You're thinking about it, and it is growing all the time. So I'm just telling you one thing, these 5, 6 points that I shared with you, keep them with you as a starting pointer, as a thought process that, okay, this guy is giving us this thought that, hey, you can also be an entrepreneur, right? It's not just about starting a business. But one thing about the entrepreneurs is that you are always chasing what's next. the perfection. You know, it is the art of converting a dream into a viable product that people can use. Today, if you're using Ola, it's a dream by somebody. Today, if you use Oyo, it's a dream by somebody that you use today. Today, we use Uber, it's a dream by somebody that we use today. So all these things are created by other people who first, they had a dream, they converted the dream into a perfectly viable product that people can use and love. So entrepreneurship is about delivering the promise that you make, you have to deliver, that people can use, right? And always believe that what you're delivering, right, is exactly what your purpose was, is to deliver this thing to people. Again, taking the ownership, being honest about those things, right? Talking about honesty on this honest note, I think I have given you a lot of things to think about. So I think I can now, open the discussion, and would love to take your questions, right? And do not forget, we all have to work together and always make things happen, right? So let's make things happen. So I'm open to the questions now. I think someone from Ingenious Faces can also moderate this. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. We have some questions that students asked in advance, so I think we can start with those.
Right. Sure.
So one of the questions that they asked us was whether there's any advice for budding entrepreneurs during this pandemic. So there's uncertainty in the economy and things, job uncertainty and all that. So is there any specific advice that you could give students in this situation?
So the thing is, because right now we are going through the pandemic, so of course, as you can see, that existing businesses are struggling, and some of them are closing down, some of them are actually, laying off people and stuff like that. So it's difficult time. It can be a very interesting time also to start a business if your business serves the new normal or the post-pandemic era. So it can be interesting to start a business as well. But I just have one advice to the budding entrepreneurs. You have to be very cautious about your investment or about starting something new, at least for the next 4 months. You have to observe what happens, because the thing is, honestly speaking, the whole world is struggling right now. They're going through this challenging time, and they're trying to understand what's happening. Even established businesses who are in the business for last 30, 40 years, they're trying to understand like what hit them, right? So it is important, right, for you to do your cost and benefit analysis and see how you can create value. If it's about COVID, if you're starting something about COVID, you can definitely leverage from the government plans and worldwide. It's an open call if you have any innovation that is helping the COVID, of course. Otherwise, if it's a generic product, I suggest to wait for some time and see and observe and then take the action.
That's great. I think Neeraj has a question. Neeraj Vaidya.
Okay, so Neeraj Vaidya is saying that I know my weaknesses, but not strength. How can I identify? So Neeraj, it is absolutely impossible that you have weaknesses but no strengths. So please don't say that. Okay, I'm sure you have many strengths. Like I said, you have to be self-aware. Take ownership of yourself and ask yourself, for example, what exactly is my strength? What I am good at. So I'll give you a small example. What I'm good at is, I think I'm very good at in facing the camera and talking to people. Honestly, I do not feel shy about it. I think that's my strength. Weakness is maybe sometimes I talk too fast. See, I told you my strength and weakness, because I'm quite self-aware. You have to also be self-aware and see where exactly is your strength. I'm sure you have many, so please don't say that you don't have strengths. Okay, so we have another question. Okay, so that is from Kartikaya Sahu. Okay, right, understand. So he's saying that how to find your mojo when you're going through difficult time. when you just do not find a solution and when clock is ticking, right? So I'll make it very easy for you, Sahu. See, there are things that you can control and there are things that you cannot control, right? So if something bad is going to happen, you have to ask a question as an entrepreneur: can I do anything about it? Do I have any influence on it? Do I have any ways that I can find? For example, I can be creative about it, right? But there are some things where it is inevitable, right? It is imminent, and you just cannot do anything about that situation. My suggestion to you is come out of the framework, okay? That framework, come out of that framework and think differently. Change your spectrum and pivot. You cannot solve a problem, right, in the same framework where it was created. Sometimes you have to come out of the framework, right, and then take some time and say, you know what I can do about it, or can I pass it? Just move on. Moving on is not a failure. It is also a way of pivoting, right? So just do not feel bad about something that is not in your control. There's so many things in my life that are not in my control. They were not in my control. I moved on. It's okay, right? So you just have to take it easy, take a deep breath, come out of the framework, and then look at it again, and then tell me, what do you see? Okay, what we have here now. Okay, Naya Moitkar is saying that, is it advisable to take some experience further? Okay. Yes, Nayan, it is always advisable because, see, the thing is, some businesses are not disruptions. They are regular businesses that you want to disrupt, for example, or they require a lot of subject matter knowledge, right? So I always believe that you should start something, it's better to get experience. So for example, today I run Final Rentals, right? It's a car rental platform. But before launching Final Rentals, I actually worked for the car rental industry for over 10 years to get this experience, right? So, and today I feel, yes, it really helps. So it is always advisable to get the experience from that particular, then starting your own thing. It's always advisable today. Okay, what else is there? Okay. Okay, Kartikaya. Okay, so Kartikaya, I'll give you a small example. In 2017, when we started, right, we almost finished our cash within first 6 months. Okay, and I was going through hell of a stress, and it was very difficult for me to run Final Rentals anymore. I loved the brand, I loved everything about it, but it was just not working for me. I was frustrated, honestly speaking, right? So what did I do? What did I do? I took 7 days break away from the business. So I moved away for 7 days. I did not do anything with the Final Rentals. I said, I'm going to take these 7 days, right? I'm going to think about all the things that happened. I'm going to think about every little thing, right? And I'm going to come back. It really helped. I came back with a solution. It was very different solution than I thought. It was very different than the existing framework, but it worked. And that's why I'm sitting in front of you right now. Okay, what else? Okay, so Nayan Moitkar is asking, what are the books that I suggest that you should read, right? Okay, so there are many books, right? But I'll tell you in particular 3 books that you should read, right? They will really help you if you have not read already. First is read the book of Steve Jobs, okay? It gives you very interesting insights on his life and how he built a product and his vision about design and perfection. I think it's fascinating. It really helps. There's one more book. It's called The One Thing. The One Thing. The book tells you about doing one thing at a time and doing it perfectly. Okay. I think the book also teaches you about focus, how you can stay focused. It's a really cool. Please read it. There's another book by Malcolm Gladwell. I'm a big Malcolm Gladwell fan, by the way. And he wrote a book called Outliers, okay, where he explains how success is different for different people. So how Bill Gates became successful, how this tennis player became successful, or how he became the best in the world. So how do you become the best in what you do, and what's the reason behind it, and how you can be the outlier, for example, or if you are an outlier or not. So it's a great book. Read it out. It would be awesome. So these three books. Okay. Okay, Kartikaya. No worries at all, Kartikaya. It's my pleasure to answer
So,
that. Hope it makes you feel better. Yeah.
so Ammar, the students have another question. They've
Mhm.
asked us whether, according to you, what sectors would see a boom in this new normal that we've reached at, especially for a young entrepreneur?
I think we are already seeing it, right? That digital is the future. So what COVID has done, it has brought everybody in front of the screen
Correct.
who was not sitting here before,
Yeah. Like right now.
who was doing things traditionally, right?
Exactly.
Right. So the thing is, digital is the future. So I think if we can hone our skills digitally, right, in digital transformation, I think digital transformation and consultancy will be very big in future. So if you can become a digital transformation expert, I think that will be great. There'll be so many jobs for that. Other very interesting thing that I see a lot of revolution will happen in med tech healthcare sector, right? And also what I see is now travel will be very different than what it is right now. So people will travel more locally, right? So I see the local travel sector to boom as compared to the global travel sector like international travel, right? So local travel, digital, transformation, and healthcare sector. These three sectors I see, they are changing, and they will ask for more and more people to come and innovate.
So we can open the floor for a few more questions if students have any queries.
Okay, Srijit Mohan is saying that yes, exactly, it is the Steve Jobs biography. Yeah, that's correct. That's absolutely right. Yes, you're right. Okay.
So we could give them maybe a minute to ask any questions. If not, maybe we can take one last question.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Come on, guys, you can ask any question. Come on, there's no question that is called stupid question. So go ahead. Don't be shy. Come on.
Proactive.
How do we conclude that an idea is worth converting into a business? Okay. Okay, Anvi, that's a great question, by the way. So here's the thing. So first thing first, you need to understand how many buyers of that idea you have. Today, you have many tools around where you can search who is searching for this kind of problem. So you can use Google Trends, you can use, keyword tools that, who is searching for the thing that you want to create. So you will know exactly how many takers of that idea or of that product is there. If you are selling hot dogs in a town where everybody is vegetarian, it's not going to work, right? So you have to find your market and your niche and know exactly, how it's going to work. Today we have tools. You can search online who is looking for this kind of product, and you will know if it's viable or not.
So it
Yeah, lovely, no problem. It's a pleasure.
seems like the students are done with their questions. So
Right.
any final advice for us?
So I just have one final advice, right? And it is about happiness, right? The thing is, why is it that all these high net worth individuals who are very rich, they need to take a sleeping pill before sleeping? They are stressed, they're not happy. Why is it that Charlie Chaplin used to say, I want to walk in the rain because nobody can see my tears? Why is it that Sushant Singh Rajput, committed suicide, unfortunately, having such a great career? I think it is somewhere we lack the skill of understanding what is happiness. I'll tell you what is happiness. You close your eyes for 20 seconds and ask yourself how awesome it is to be Ammar, how awesome it is to be you, how awesome it is to be Kanika. We sometimes forget how awesome it is to be us actually, how amazing it is. We're sitting here talking on this digital platform. Isn't it a reason to be happy? You'll find 1 million reasons to be happy. But one reason to be sad is actually bogs you down, right? So you have to find your happiness, and happiness starts from inside. When you're sad, just close your eyes and ask yourself how awesome it is to be you, and you'll find 1 million reasons to be happy. So please try and be happy.
Thank you so much. So I think that concludes today's session. Thank you so much for joining us, Ammar. It was
Pleasure.
truly inspiring to have you with us today. Uh, I'm sure the students also learned a lot. They asked all their questions. I'm sure this is a great session. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure, and thank you for all the questions.
Have more career cafe sessions with you.
Looking forward. Looking forward.
So see you all in the next session. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you. All right.